Okay, and it looks like we're live. Hi, this is Jim Williams, the Vice President of Marketing at Influitive, and I'm coming to you live for the latest in our Spark series, which are conversations with marketing leaders about the power of advocacy. I am very pleased to be joined today by Mary Leslie Davis. She's at Staples, which is right here in Massachusetts, which is where I'm based. She's coming to us live from the Staples headquarters in Framingham, Mass. Mary Leslie is the Director of Field Marketing and Customer Engagement for Staples Advantage program. She runs an incredible advocacy initiative there. And I'm delighted to have you to join us today.
Thanks, Jim. Happy to talk about advocacy marketing, my favorite subject.
That's great. I know it's your favorite subject because I was lucky enough to see you present a couple of weeks ago in Boston about your program, and that led to this conversation where I think we can explore it in more detail. First, before we jump into advocacy, I think a lot of people are familiar with Staples. It's hard not to be, given the brand and its popularity. But tell us about the Staples Business Advantage.
Okay, Staples Business Advantage is a $7 billion business unit of Staples Inc. And we sell to medium to large size businesses. And most of our customers have some sort of an agreement with us where they get a customized program, customized pricing. We sell a whole bunch of things that you'd never expect a Staples store to sell, certainly. We sell project design, furniture design, and all sorts of furniture for hospitals and schools and high-end businesses. We sell technology supplies. We sell facilities, janitorial and sanitation equipment. We sell print services and promotional products. So there's a whole bunch of things that we do that no one's aware of. Which was part of the reason why we wanted to start an advocacy program, is we are a very successful division of Staples, but awareness is not as high as it should be, and as we feel it should be.
Great. So tell me about the customers. What's your average customer like that's buying all of these products and services that most people aren't that familiar with?
So that's exactly the trick here. I think in a lot of B2B companies, you may have multiple buyers, multiple types of customers. So we sell to medium businesses, could be anywhere from 10 employees up, to enterprise companies, large, very large Fortune 100 companies who would have thousands of locations all across the country. And if you just sold office supplies, it would be easy to say who your customer is. It's the person you just think in your office, who's that person who orders the paper and the ink and toner. But it's more complicated than that, because when you start selling furniture, you start selling janitorial supplies, you start selling promo products, you could be going to lots of different people in a business. And so we have built up a group of personas in the marketing department. We did that a couple of years ago. We always had personas, but we really went in depth with them a couple of years ago and understood exactly who they are, what they think, what they feel, what kind of content they like to consume, how they like to talk to each other, how they want to interact with us. It was really a comprehensive review of who our customer is. And, I don't think we're unusual for a B2B company to have so many different types of customers, but I was pleased that we as a company had the discipline and ability to explore all of them pretty in depth.
Wow, that sounds like quite an initiative. I think it's funny. I think it's one of those initiatives that every business should do every so often, right? Every couple of years, just take the pulse of who your customers are and what kind of relationship are they looking to get out of the relationship. So very interesting. So you must have had a lot of learnings from that. And tell us a little bit about, what were some of the key learnings, and more specifically, what are maybe some of the business challenges that led you to start thinking about advocacy or an advocate marketing strategy?
Okay. Well, it was a pretty lengthy process to come up with the persona profiles. A lot of research, a lot of focus groups, a lot of surveys, and a lot of just sitting down one-on-one with customers, and then talking with all our salespeople who see these customers all the time, and and asking them, does this ring true? Is this who you think your person is? But our challenges are like anybody else's. Everybody gets too many emails. Everybody gets too many sales calls. It's just a struggle to get the attention of the person you want to get. I will say, Jim, that I think one of the big pivots that we made a couple of years ago is the reason why we're successful with our advocacy program today. And that's because we went from a product-centric company to a customer-centric company. So I've told you about all the different categories we sell. And we used to have marketing teams develop marketing campaigns for each of those product categories. We don't do that any longer. We start thinking about the customer first. First of all, who are they? What are they responsible for? Are they a decision maker or an influencer? Who's going to actually place the order? What are they worried about? What are they concerned about? How can we help them improve their performance on the job and empower their businesses to do whatever they're doing? So when we went to that customer-centric focus, I was actually asked to put together the marketing plan for our whole team. So I collated everybody's activities, all the product marketing team, the online team, the digital team. We put everything up on the board. We had done some buyer's journey and customer journey research. So we had an idea of what we should do at each stage. But when I put everything up on the board and tried to collate it, it was very obvious that there was a massive gap. Just embarrassing, huge gap. We had lots of professional marketing people on this job, and there was this massive gap that no one was working on word of mouth. Yeah. No one was working on peer networking. No one was working on peer referrals. It was striking what the gap was. So we have a social group, but that was a corporate-wide social group, and they had a little bit different focus. They weren't really focused on what we wanted to, what we needed to address the gap. So I talked to my boss and I said, hey, we got a problem. If we think that our customers spend more time online and talking to their peers to find out about new products and new services and how to do their jobs better, we don't have a solution for that. We're not proactive about that. So anyway, she said, okay, go for it, figure it out. So I did a lot of research, came up with, discovered this world of advocacy marketing, which is sort of new and old at the same time. Right. And the rest is history. We put together a little pilot, and here we are a year and 3 months later with an exciting program.
So, first of all, congratulations. If you can come up with, hey, we have this big gaping hole, I've got a plan to fill it, and your boss just says, okay, go for it. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Did you find that there were more steps involved to actually selling the full vision and starting to implement it? Maybe things you hadn't anticipated along the way?
Yes. Clearly, it wasn't as simple as I said. Yeah. First of all, I had a boss who had a little bit of money she gave me to try stuff. Not a lot, but a little. I was so interested in this area that I volunteered to do it in addition to my regular job. So it wasn't like she needed extra resources. But by no means was this a program that everyone said, oh, great, go do it. Yay. My boss did it, I think, sort of to humor me a little bit, to say, okay, Mary Leslie seems to have this interest. We'll give her a little money and let her go do it. And I don't think she was a real believer. When I started to put the program together, I went to a couple of our sales leaders, one of whom works down the hall from me, and she was, thought I was out of my mind. She literally said to me, this will never work. And so I was like, okay.
What was the thing that would never work? The idea that, hey, you get your customers talking to each other and about your products and services, and that's just not going to have any impact, or it's just they're not going to bother to talk about things?
Both, Jim. Yeah. One was that they weren't going to bother. Why would they do that? Well, what was the motivation? Why would they possibly do this? I mean, this was office supplies. It was, it's not anything wild and sexy. Yeah. But more importantly, how do you measure it? how do you measure that? You know, the social teams have a hard time, and a PR team has a hard time measuring that sort of touchy-feely stuff. But thanks to the program that we've instituted, we have some really good ways to measure it. And I will admit, you know, people on my own team said to me, there were some grumblings that, oh, Mary Leslie's got her little pet project, and, you know, they were resentful that I was spending time on that because they didn't think that there was going to be a value. So the struggle early on was to go for it. And I just had this hunch, and I believed that it would work. And I just went for it.
So did you define very specific goals when you got started?
Yeah. So first of all, I knew that we had lots of personas, and I figured I wasn't really sure which persona this program would work for. And I didn't want to start the program with just one persona and have it be a failure and not know whether it was the persona that wasn't attracted to this kind of program or it was the actual program. So to make my life even worse, we decided to start with 4 personas. So we developed 4 customized experiences. So that was my first sort of step to get there. But my inclination was that I really wanted to see some social amplification of our content. We have a great content team who's spitting out a lot of stuff by persona. So I wanted to see social amplification. I also thought we could get some referrals. Why not? That's what it's all about. I thought we would get some good referrals. And I had a vague sense that it might be nice to provide these customers with peers to talk to. You know, there aren't too many people in a business who purchase office supplies. It's not like they have a buddy, you know, who does the same thing. You know, they can't compare notes. So who are they going to compare notes with? So I had some sense that there would be some peer references, peer networking going on. But honestly, when you start a program like this, I had no idea what to expect, what to look for, I had no benchmark. I didn't know what to measure ourselves against.
Right. So, so you go ahead and launch, right? You have somewhat low expectations. You're not exactly sure. You roughly have carved out a couple of objectives, right? You have key personas. You want to start some interactivity, maybe some referrals. What was it like when you first launched the program? Was that challenging at first, a little bit scary, surprising? What came out of the initial launch?
Well, we spent about a month developing the program, and then we invited top customers, a small segment of top customers, just through email, and we sent it out in mid-August, which is the height of vacations. So not a lot of people are around, but we sent out this email, and within a couple of minutes, we started getting people who joined. And I think within a couple of hours, we had 10 advocates who had joined the program. Well, I was jumping up and down. I thought that was a miracle. I thought we would get none. Within a day or two, we had close to 100. The response was overwhelming. Now, granted, we have a lot of customers that we could pull from, but I had no idea whether the program would be of interest to anyone. So when we had that early success, we were overwhelmed. It was so exciting. So what we did a couple of weeks later, after Labor Day in the United States, early September, we decided to send a reminder email about inviting these customers into the program. So we emailed everybody who had not already joined, which was basically the whole list. And we got twice the response. So we got a great response in the middle of August, and then we got an incredible response in the middle of September. And then it was very clear we had something real and really exciting.
So, Mary Leslie, what are they responding to? What's the pitch to a potential advocate for Staples Business Advantage? What are you asking them to do in that initial invitation? Well,
first of all, we're offering them a place to learn. We're offering them ways, first of all, empathy, and we understand what their job is and how difficult it is and how alone you are. And everybody has different needs and skills for their particular job. So we offer tricks and tips on how to do your job better, depending on whatever persona you are and which job function we're addressing. And we send them industry information and white papers and let them know about webinars. We give them access to senior leaders here, industry experts. We have some people on staff and some people that we work with who are experts. For instance, we literally have a guy named Bob Risk, who is our safety expert. And so, we offer them access to people like that so that they can ask questions. So there's a learning element, an educational element, and then we offered them the sense of community to talk with each other on the discussion boards. Mm-hmm. And interact with each other. And again, we had no idea how that would go, and we were pleasantly surprised. And then, of course, they earn points for their activity because it's a gamification platform, and we get to reward them. And we set up the reward system, again, by persona, so that we try to really figure out what each group of customers would find appealing and would strive for. So I will tell you, Jim, what's interesting about this program is that you as a marketer have to be really disciplined, and you have to constantly remember what's in it for the customer, what's in it for the advocate. You can tend to get carried away with what we want to accomplish, and that's not going to work. You got to constantly put yourself in their shoes, and what do they want? So I think that's it.
Yeah, it's a difficult transition for marketers. I mean, so your initial instinct is, hey, we joined this thing. Well, I want to get referrals. I want to get feedback. But you don't go and invite people, send a message out to all your customers saying, can you give us referrals? It's not going to go anywhere. It's all about, the whole access to power, status, rewards, community, sense of belonging, all of those things.
Yeah, it really is. Now, what is surprising is that we also have asked them for their feedback on certain things. And we've given them opportunities to beta test new functionality on the e-commerce site, or we've asked them to give us their opinions about new services, and they're all over that. And so what we realized also, and I didn't appreciate this either, because again, it's office supplies. It's not really fancy stuff. What I didn't realize is they really like to have a voice in the company. Mm-hmm. They really like to feel like they can help us fine-tune our offering for people like them. So they've jumped all over the surveys and feedback and product testing that we've invited them to do.
Was that the biggest surprise? What was it? What was the thing that you found they tended to do more than you imagined they would do? Is it in that product feedback?
Yeah, I think I wasn't expecting that so much. We've had, I'll be quite frank with you, it's a little bit hard on the social amplification part, because we had a lot of people tell us, I don't do social media, I don't mix business with pleasure. And so I would say, I don't know the exact numbers, but half of our advocates say, no, thanks, I'm not going to do that. We ask them then to share on LinkedIn because it's a business profile. But so that was a little bit disappointing, but that's still a great ask that we've been able to accomplish. But I think I am surprised by how eager they are to do our surveys and volunteer to test things. I'll give you an example. We early on in the life of the advocacy program, we had our creative department and one of our product marketing groups hemming and hawing about a particular campaign for a print services offering. And these two groups went back and forth for weeks. They couldn't figure out the right approach. We're marketers. We've all been there. Sure. We weren't sure, does this headline work? Does this message work? They went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I watched them, and I was thanking my lucky stars that it wasn't me having to go back and forth all over the place like that, because it was really frustrating. And people just honestly didn't know which direction to go in. So we piped up and we said, hey, why don't we just ask our advocates which messaging and which headline works? So this was brand new concept. We had never done such a thing. So a couple hours later, we put up a challenge on our advocacy program and asked our advocates, which one do you like, A or B? Well, this was the most fun couple of hours we've ever had. Within literally 3 or 4 hours, we had close to 100 responses, and there was a clear winner. I mean, clear winner. There was like no question that one of the approaches worked better than the other. So we were able to give really fast feedback to the product marketing team and the creative team, which then, of course, they could go execute, and saved, I wish I had suggested that earlier on in their process, but
hours of debate.
Yeah. But I mean, that was crazy. And that, what we also discovered was that was one of the most we had the most respondents for that challenge, which told me our advocates were really super interested in doing that, in answering those kinds of questions. So that was a bit of a surprise.
Are you regularly using that channel now for that kind of thing, for feedback on campaigns or promotions or whatever the case may be? Do you find that is there like a law of diminishing returns where you start to maybe burn out the advocates, or how does that work?
No, it's a huge source of customer insights. I will say again that that's where our discipline comes in, is that we got to remember it's not all about us, it's about them. So we have our own internal rules that we're only going to put up one survey ask like that a week by persona. And that seems to be working out. When we feel that it's getting a little bit less interest, then we'll back off. But I can say for sure that I have my colleagues in the company standing in line waiting for those weekly slots to ask our advocates questions, because it's so incredibly helpful. And that is the biggest surprise. I had no idea that this would be such a valuable tool to get customer insights to share with the rest of the company. And that's how we got management's attention, really. I showed numbers for amplification and referrals and all that kind of stuff every month, but it was the insights that got everybody's attention.
Yeah, nothing really grabs your attention like the words of your customer using to describe your product or service or your recommendation. They always jump right off the page, right?
Right. Yeah.
I've heard it described many times, an advocacy program, and it's not I don't think it's why people buy, our product certainly gets started, but pretty quickly they realize, wow, we have this channel to our customers that we never had before, right? Like this wellspring of feedback, and interaction with our customers. This always on focus group. I've heard people say that. It's like having an always on focus group. It's really interesting. You talked a little bit about connecting advocates together. How has that gone? Is that met your expectations, where people are actually going back and forth, sharing best practices, networking, whatever?
So this was another big surprise to us. The discussion boards, at first we seeded some topics, of course, just to get started. And we saw that there was a lot of participation over on them. And what we saw early on, I think within the first couple of months, is we saw a couple of people actually say on the discussion board, I love this. I get to talk to somebody else who understands what I'm going through. And one guy actually said, I feel like I'm not alone. And that was eye-opening to us, because we started to realize that our customers don't have a community to belong to. I'm sure with some of your other customers, Jim, you may have, there may be user communities if you're a high-tech software or a software company. There may be other kind of professional programs for certain fields, but in ours, there wasn't. So we have been able to provide our advocates with a community where they can share best practices. We've had really interesting questions, not only about their jobs, like how do I save money? I'm spending so much money on janitorial supplies and my boss wants me to buy environmentally safe stuff. What do you guys do to save money? We've had questions like that, but we've even morphed into some questions we got just this week, where someone was writing, how do you ask your boss for a raise when you haven't gotten one for 3 years because the company's struggling? I mean, now they're asking each other questions really as one professional to another, nothing to do with our product categories. They're just talking to each other because they see that they are in the same boats. So that was a real eye opener. And that's the thing, yeah.
So, now suddenly Staples Business Advantage comes to be more than product supplies, right? It's actually a place where people like you hang out. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
So how many people are in your program today? Like
today we have, I think we're up to 2,300 or so today. We have been super successful, and so we have gotten the green light to grow the program. As you know, Jim, but I'm not sure all the audience might know that there is some work to be done on this. It's time consuming. You need to, if you're going to have a good program, you need to pay attention. You need to listen. You need to manage the program day to day and respond to questions and keep it fresh. Keeping it fresh is super important. So it takes some work. So we haven't been able to grow as fast as we wanted to because we didn't have the resources to manage it. But because we've been so successful in the past year, we were given more resources and said, and told, go for it. So we're just at the beginning stages of growing the program in a bigger way.
So growing the program, what does that mean? Does that mean adding new personas to the program? Does that mean just going to the rest of your customer base? Where does growth take you?
So growth for us right now is going to the rest of our customer database. We're Staples. We have thousands of customers. And so we are expanding and inviting more customers within the personas we already have a customized experience for. We have a sense that we may be able to expand the number of personas, but we need to walk before we can run. And I'd rather, since we have good experiences going on now, I think we focus on getting more of the same rather than creating a whole nother experience. But talk to me in 6 months. We'll see where we are.
Well, we'll do that. I'll definitely talk in 6 months. How do you quantify today, like the impact of being the voice of the customer, having the voice of the customer? Sounds like product teams get a lot out of it, and some of the people that are on the marketing side or on the promotions you talked about. But when the brass comes down to say, all right, tell me what this program is doing, how do you quantify that?
Well, we started to do some backdoors kind of stuff, which was showing the value of the social amplification piece. We got a certain number of impressions and that kind of thing. And we looked at the cost of research. If we had an outside research company come in and talk to 300 customers and ask them 10 questions and collate the responses, how much would that cost?
Sure.
And that's a ridiculous amount of money.
Well, you did that, right, a couple of years ago in your persona development. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that went into it.
Right. So we showed how much money we saved by generating our own customer insights. But really the clincher was when we looked at the sales and the retention of these advocates. And we looked at the customers who were engaged in the advocacy program versus those who are not. And we showed that the engaged customers had significantly higher sales and were ordering more often. And then it became, as our CEO says, a home run.
Right. Right. It comes down to dollars and cents and the business through the advocate program. If you think about it that way, then how do you identify who should be in the program? Is it everyone should be exposed to the program and those only interested join, or do you target specific accounts that you want invited? How does that happen?
Well, that's what's evolving. We started off just inviting top customers, people who spent the most money with us, have been with us the longest. order the most frequently, order the most different types of products. So we started top because of course the first thing that everybody's afraid of with this kind of a program is, oh my goodness, what if they write something negative about us on the community and everybody talks to each other and they spread bad words. Everybody's worried about that. So, just to be safe, we invited the top customers. But I will tell you that I went to AdvoCamp last year and I listened to Jay Bear and Hug Your Haters. And I came back from that conference as a believer that I welcome people to give us feedback that's not always positive. I welcome that because it's an opportunity for us. And so we engaged with our customer service team to help us respond to these quickly, because I don't know all the answers to the questions or the problems they're having. Right. But we have turned around some really good situations of people who have given us feedback that we weren't exactly hoping for. But that's a digression. We started off just inviting top customers within the personas that we thought this would work for. Right. As we grow, our goal is to make it open to all of our customers. But again, because it's so resource heavy in terms of the marketing department needs to manage the program, we're going to do it in a staggered, controlled rollout and not invite everybody all at once. I do have a sense that this particular program works better for some personas than others. Mm-hmm. We see different uses depending on persona. We have one persona where it's people who sit at their desks all day in front of a desktop computer, mm-hmm. and they're heavily involved. We have another persona who's just the opposite. They're not at their desk at all. They're walking around their building. They're walking around wherever they are. And, those people are less inclined to engage. And so we're trying to get them interested in the mobile app and right. trying to get them engaged in a different way. But right there, you see that our customers segment themselves. Right. And we need different solutions because, again, we're customer centric. We want to provide what each of them needs. So it's pretty fascinating work. It really is.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about the incentivization, right? There's gamification, of course, in the platform itself, and there are notion of rewards and points and badges and incentives. You find that some things tend to work better than others with different personas. You found that some type of incentive or reward is just been a home run for you. Tell me about your learnings there.
Some of the home runs are basic things like gift cards. Like at Christmas last year, I think we did can't remember exactly, a Toys R Us gift card or a Home Depot gift card. Those were home runs because who doesn't need one of those at Christmas? Right. We have a lot of things that are sports oriented. We have Staples has a print and promo group that I don't know if you ever read, but we were the biggest supplier of the U.S. Olympic merchandise this past year. And so we can customize anything. So we have a lot of sports equipment like stadium seats that we will put your team's logo on. We provide things like a rolling cooler, during football season for people who are tailgating. We have like a rolling cooler. That's a big hot one. The other things that we do that have higher point values, and so people have not redeemed them as much, are things like shirts for your team. Maybe you're a team, a marketing team, or a warehousing team, or your company has a softball team or whatever. We will give you we will make customized shirts for you.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's another fun one. But the other things we do are, Staples has an agreement at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and we get tickets to cool things. So we've offered tickets to Justin Bieber concerts and Keith Urban concerts and Kings games and that kind of stuff. And then by persona, we realize that different personas are going to different types of trade shows, to professional trade shows. So we'll offer tickets to a trade show that's relevant to them. But honestly, it's again, I don't think this is a surprise for people in the loyalty marketing business, but the number of people who actually redeem their points is very few.
Right.
People are in there because it's fun and they're learning something and they're connecting. And so I think that's, it was nice to see that.
Yeah, you've created a home for them, for sure.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so you look back at this now. It's been how long since you started?
1 year and 2 months.
1 year and 2 months. So would you have done anything differently, either in the introduction of the program, the role of the program, how you targeted or invited people? Like, what advice would you give as someone starting to think about their advocacy program that maybe you picked up along the way?
I honestly don't think I would have done anything differently. Knowing that we're a large enterprise company, I knew I was going to have to test something first before it would ever fly. I will say that you have to believe in the goal. You have to believe in the value of word of mouth and peer networking, and if you believe, then you eventually will be able to convince others. And so I think that for us, we had to start small. We had to start in a quiet way and prove our value. I will say that what we did right off the bat was the minute we got any customer insight, we saw what topic they were raising with each other on the discussion board, or we got feedback on some survey we asked, we immediately shared it with all our colleagues here. I literally did an email every week to whomever I could think of. I literally tried to find interested parties in every department.
Yeah.
And I would send them a weekly email saying, hey, guess what I learned from our advocates this week? Wow, you can't believe that they were talking about how to give holiday parties without breaking the bank. You can't believe that they were asking about safety products for, elementary schools. Every week we were able to pull something out of the program that we could share with others. And people got really interested in that. And so then of course it catches on like wildfire.
Right. So you're being an advocate for your own advocacy program. It's a big part of the job, right?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to do that. Now everybody's sold. But for a good year, we had to advocate for advocacy. And like I said, not everybody was on board, and a lot of people thought it was a big waste of time. But we got some believers really, really fast. I will say one thing, though, and again, every company's different, but there is a misconception with some of my colleagues in the rest of the company that this is a customer panel. And the purpose of this whole program is to be able to have a customer panel you can ask questions of and survey at will. And that drives me insane. And I constantly tell people, no, this is a community for our customers to network with each other and to talk about their jobs and to compare notes and to share and to absorb our content and to share it. This is not a customer panel. So again, that just gets back to, you can't be product centric. You've got to be customer centric.
How much are you at the center of the program? Do you find that customers recognize your name regularly? Or is your name, are you the face of the program, or how does that work?
Yes, it's not me exactly. I have a fabulous colleague named Catherine who works on the program day to day. And yes, they totally know who she is. We actually had a challenge to go out, meet Catherine, your Staples Advantage Insider Network administrator. She gets emails all the time. She gets lots of feedback herself about different programs. She'll ask them questions. It's very personal. Yeah. And that's why I say it takes some time, and you can't just throw a program up there and ignore it. It's personal, and that's the value. So it's the good and the bad.
It very much humanizes the brand, right? Because it's about people corresponding with one another, knowing each other in depth, etc. So
right.
Very interesting. Wow, this is it's been quite a journey. For a year and 2 months, you've certainly come a long way. Just the size and scope of the program, and your learnings, and the type of things you're doing. I really appreciate you taking some time. I know it's tough. It's a Friday afternoon. It's about 4 o'clock. We're trying to wrap up the week here, but thank you for spending 45 minutes or so chatting with me about the Staples Business Advantage program. Mary Leslie, I appreciate it.
No problem, Jim. Thank you so much. Always like talking about it.
I'm going to take you up on your offering and touch base with you in 6 months. I'd love to hear where you've gone next.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and good luck next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.